All right, what is up, everybody? Hey, I had a Victory Sunday. Now it's a Victory Monday. Hey, if you are new to this channel, my name is Craig. Have another channel, Sports Talk Detroit, where me and my buddy Chris talk about the Detroit Lions as well. But needed to start a Michigan channel. Have always loved the Wolverines. Even when you look back here, you can see that signed Jim Harbaugh picture frame. We got Nico Collins over here. Look, again, I've told everybody here, love Michigan, but want to try and give a somewhat non-biased opinion, but I like to keep things positive. It's just what we've always done on our channels. But Michigan got a harsh dose of reality, but they're also getting help when they need it most. The win over Wisconsin felt easy. It was 24-10. Other than the first drive by Wisconsin, it never really felt like this game was in jeopardy, even though the score remained close. But that doesn't mean things went well exactly. And we need to kind of start talking about that. We need to talk about what that looks like, because with USC coming up, the same issues, the same mistakes aren't going to cut it. They're just not. You need to play cleaner football when you travel across the country in order to win a game. In fact, look no further than the team we're playing. Two teams, all right? USC traveled across the country, lost to Illinois a little over a week ago. Then Penn State travels across the country to UCLA, winless UCLA, fired our coach after 3 games, UCLA, and they still can't get a victory. It is not easy to travel across country. Oregon's travel across country win over Penn State. Maybe doesn't look as impressive as it did a little bit ago. But Michigan has a really good shot at this. So what is the help that is coming? I'm going to talk about 2 guys with the last name Moore on this one. One is good. One I'm a little bit worried about. All right. Michigan got help by getting Rod Moore back. And in this article, they talk about how Rod Moore is all the way back. I don't know if that's 100% true. I mean, it's only his second game, and he's still on a pitch count. And here's what they had to say. The secondary's been good this season, but they have a chance to be great. That's partly because of the triumphant return of Rod Moore. All right, there was a fantastic play here. For copyright reasons, I'm not going to show it, but man, oh man, he understood what he had to do. Like, he fully understood what he had to do, and he made it work. He was PFF's highest rated safety in week 6. He was all over the field beyond just the interception. He's still ramping up, but if he can replicate his high level of play, Michigan could have championship caliber defense once again. Here's where I think Rod Moore helps more so than just the fact that he's a really good football player and a really good safety. Rod Moore brings a calming presence to the defense. Rod Moore brings an immediate intensity to the defense that is leveled and maintained. He's not young. He's been around the block once or twice or 4 or 5 times. So he's not this guy that's going to succumb to the moment. He's been in the biggest of games. He's made big plays in the biggest of games, and he's messed up in the biggest of games. So he can walk beside all these really good freshmen and young defensive backs. They're all young. Yes, Hill played a lot last year. Yes, Zeke Berry played a lot last year. But all the other guys that are big contributors in this secondary, not a ton of experience. You felt like the secondary was the one place that didn't have a absolute stud or superstar. You felt like the defensive line was just loaded with studs, right? The linebacking room is loaded with even more studs than we thought. So many studs, in fact, that they were able to give one of them away to the defensive line and Jayshon Barham so he could play edge. But the secondary, this year, it hadn't happened yet. And I was worried again in the very first drive against Wisconsin, but then they shut it down. And there were 2 great plays from Rod Moore. And so that is what we are looking for out of this defense. I think this defense has a chance to go from being good this year to great, which they've already started to do, to elite. Because the talent is 100% there. We all know it. Now, here's the question. The help they need most is Rod Moore is back. Please stay healthy, my guy. Please stay healthy. Not only because we want you to win football games, but it's just you're due for it. Like, it has been a rough couple years for him after he got injured. I just want it badly for this young man. I truly do. All right, now there's a concerning thing, and I think we could have a very similar change-up on the offense as we did with the defense. Rod Moore came back, and it felt like it completely settled this defense. There weren't the big highs and big lows. All right, it was just good. It was really good the whole game. And I think Donovan McCulley has a chance to be that on the offense. He was the guy, along with Justice Haynes, right, that made this offense and said in the second half against Wisconsin, said, we're not losing this game. I'm going to make whatever plays I need to make, whether it's catching open balls, whether it's catching contested balls, it didn't matter. And that is one thing I love about a good, big-bodied 50-50 ball receiver, right? If he can make those catches, like he can take the game into his own hands. He doesn't have to rely on an offensive line correctly blocking to the extent that a Justice Haynes does. He can just make a play. When Underwood's being pressured, he can throw it up to his guy, and he can make a play. We've seen Braylon Edwards do it in the past. We've seen other receivers do it in the past. Mario Manningham, right? Like, I know there's tons more. Don't get me wrong. I'm just not going to name all the numbers, all right, and all the players. But even all the number ones, right? Anthony Carter, right? Braylon Edwards. Here we go. All right. So anyways, with all of that being said, I think he has the thing, but there is one concerning thing to me. There's one concerning thing to me. It's why does this team look better when Sharon Moore isn't there? Like, they didn't look great against New Mexico. They obviously were extremely conservative and didn't look good against Oklahoma. Then the offense looks fantastic against both Nebraska and Central Michigan, right? But then it kind of felt conservative again against Wisconsin. And maybe it just felt conservative because they have a better run defense. And maybe it just felt conservative because Andrew Sprague gave up pressures not left and right, but at really inopportune times. Maybe it just felt conservative because we had another 3 drops. Either way, I want to make sure that Sharon Moore is saying, let it rip, let it fly, right? And he's not just giving Bryce Underwood the ability to go, but he's giving his offensive coordinator the ability to call his game. Because I guarantee you in those 2 games that he was gone, Poggi was not sitting here micromanaging what Chip Lindsey was doing. He was just saying, all right, your game, go. Go. I'm sure Sharon Moore told him what he wanted ahead of the game, but Chip was able to just call the game. My hope is that Sharon Moore's allowing him to call the game. Because even when we won a national championship, even in those 3 years where we had success on the offense, our team was a national championship contender year in and year out because we had elite defenses, not because we had elite offenses. And so those are one of those things. Now, it's a slight nervousness for me. However, it's not a nervousness for national writers on the AP poll. Michigan moved from 20 all the way up to 15 in this game, which isn't bad at all. And I think it kind of makes sense for the team that they are. Penn State, shockingly, after, like, I understand they lost to an 0-4 team, to throw them all the way outside of the top 25 was really interesting to me. Really interesting to me, especially when Florida State gets to stay. But after getting blitzed by Miami. But it seems like the national writers have a level of confidence in Michigan. And I think the reason that is because you can see the talent that's evident on the field. The question is, can we, if you go to the West Coast, I'll be talking about this all week in videos. You can't go to the West Coast and make turnovers and just commit drops. And you got to play mistake-free football when you travel across the country. It's simple. Now, one of the things that I like is that it's a night game. It gets us a little more time to acclimate and stuff like that. The only thing that's weird about it is when you go to USC and you play at 7:30 their time, right? When you play at 7:30 their time, then all of a sudden it's like 10:30 our time. And so, in Michigan. And so your team's playing a really late game, and it's a late start getting back for the next week. And that's the only thing that concerns me is that, the next week we have Washington. Now, the good news about that is that Washington was at Maryland. They were across the country at Maryland. And then they're playing Rutgers at home this week, and then they're going back to Michigan. So they're doing what we have to do. right? They're still doing the travel just like us. All right. Thanks for watching. This video's going long. I'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching. And if you like what we're doing, hit that subscribe button. We'd love to have you as part of this Michigan community here on Sports Talk Wolverines. Go Blue.